All right, we'll go ahead and get started. We'd like to welcome Rory McIlroy to the interview room here at the FedEx St. Jude Championship. Rory, first start since St. Andrews. Just starting out, what have the last few weeks been like for you, and getting prepped to make the run in the playoffs here, starting sixth in the standings?
Yeah, spent a little sort of stayed in the UK for a couple of weeks after the Open. Spent 2 weeks down around the London area, which was really nice. Completely just got away from golf. I took 2 weeks off, didn't touch a club, didn't see the inside of a gym, probably didn't eat a vegetable. Sort of just 2 weeks of sort of vacation, and then I was back in Florida last week and getting back into it. And yeah, just sort of trying to get myself ready and prepared for the 3 weeks coming up. So it was nice to take that little break, and felt like I needed it, and feel refreshed and ready to go for the playoffs.
And this is a course you're familiar with. I've played here on a few occasions. Finished tied fourth here in 2019. I guess firstly, you just got off of your pro-am. We got a lot of rain yesterday. How's the course looking in your mind, and how does it set up for you, generally speaking? Yeah,
I think the course has held up remarkably well considering the amount of rain we had yesterday. I think TPC Southwind is a favorite for a lot of guys on tour. It's a really good golf course. Rewards, good ball striking, and it's not. You don't have to be overly long on this golf course, but you have to be accurate and put your ball in the right position. Sort of getting used to playing. I certainly haven't played an event on Bermuda for a while, so just sort of getting used to the grass and some of the lies around the greens again. But it's this is obviously a different venue for the first week of the playoffs now, but a venue that we're all sort of familiar with, and I think it's going to be a really good week.
All right, with that, we'll open up for questions. If you have a question, just raise your hand and we will get a microphone over to you. We can start right here with Jason.
Rory, just in general, wanted to get your thoughts on the ruling yesterday and kind of what went down.
Yeah, I think, from my vantage point, common sense prevailed, and I thought it was the right decision. And now that has happened, I think it just lets us focus on the important stuff, which is the golf, and we can all move forward and not sort of have that sideshow going on for the next few weeks, which is nice.
Right here, Doug.
One question I thought of that actually came out of that hearing, and since you would know better than anybody, is this the hardest trophy to win? The FedEx Cup?
Is the Super Bowl the hardest trophy to win in football?
We're talking about golf, Rory. Stay in your lane.
Look, it rewards consistently good golf over the course of the season, so you have to put yourself in position, but then you have to really turn it on for the last few weeks. So it's like it's a weird one. It's like you have to play consistently good golf over the course of a 30-week or 30 whatever week season, and then you have to get hot at the end of it again as well. So it's difficult to win. It's no one's won more than twice, and it's I think it's hard to win, especially with the format in Atlanta now, because it really gives an advantage to the guys that have played well leading up to the Tour Championship. So if you look at it that way, the guy that's not in first going into Atlanta, yes, it's probably the most difficult thing to win, because I'm pretty sure in any other tournament around the world, you don't start a few shots behind. On Thursday, you're starting level with everyone else.
Yes or no would have worked there, by the way.
I don't do that.
One other thing is it related to just to this whole thing. And you've spoken very clearly on it most of the year. I'm just curious, in your eyes, was there a point when this became more personal than it was at the start?
Yeah. And it was when that lawsuit was filed last week or whatever it was. And I mean, the thing that I would say, I certainly have a little more respect for the guys that haven't put their names to the suit. So, yeah, I mean, it's become a little more personal because of that.
You guys? Yeah, Sean?
What were the days after St. Andrews like?
Tough. That night was tough. The few days after it were okay, I guess. It probably took me 3 or 4 days to sort of get back to myself again. But I think what softened the blow a little bit is I felt like I should have got the ball up and down on 9, 12, and 14. Those are sort of you could maybe say the third hole as well. But, apart from that, I didn't feel like I didn't lose it. And I think that's what made it a little easier to get over. The fact that Cam went out and shot 30 on the back 9, and I stood on the 10th tee with a 2-shot lead and birdied the 10th, and I didn't really make. Okay, you could say I didn't make birdies at 12 or 14 or 18, but 18 didn't really matter in the end. But that's the only 2 things I can really think about that I would have done differently. So that made it a little easier to get over. It's not as if I went out there, shot 75, and I went and played a solid round of golf. Didn't get as much out of it as I was hoping for. But I think because of how I played, it made it, I guess, just a little easier to get over.
And then I think only out of the top 25 twice this season, what's the most gratifying part of the consistency in the year?
I think just I'm back to playing the golf that I'm used to playing and the golf that I know that I can play. COVID was a weird time for everyone, and then coming out of it, I'm going into the 21 season, maybe not wanting my swing to be where it was, and then sort of trying to change a couple of things and going down a path that I realized wasn't the path for me, and sort of coming back out of that and getting back to playing the golf that I know that I can play. This year feels very similar to the way I played in 2019. It's a carbon copy in terms of the consistency and the numbers and the strokes gained numbers. But my finishes in the majors have been better, and that's been a real positive. Looking ahead into next year and the future.
Good. All right, guys. Anything else?
Not a whole lot. I know that a lot of companies are based there, but apart from that, I don't really know much.
Real quick, Jason.
Rory, I hate to harp on the Open, but you said it was almost easier to get over because of the way you played, especially in the final round. Is it at some point almost a little more frustrating knowing, hey, I really didn't do anything wrong, I didn't make any mistakes, and yet I still didn't get it done? Sort of, what does it take for me to actually win one of these things?
No, I think it's more, if I keep playing like that in major championships, the law of averages suggests that, I'm going to get myself back in the winner's circle eventually. So I think it's more looking at it in that way than the other way. Like I played really solid. I shot 18 under par around St. Andrews for 4 days, and it wasn't quite good enough to get the job done. But if I keep playing the way I've been playing in the bigger tournaments, again, as I said, the law of averages would suggest that I'm going to get myself a trophy at some point.
Down the stretch of that, did you feel like you almost needed to change your mindset? Like, did you almost feel like you were kind of playing a little defense? Now, all of a sudden, here comes Cam. I got to play some more offense down the stretch?
Yeah, so Cam went on that run on the back 9. As I said, I birdied 10. I thought just make 3 on 11, get through 11. and the two chances that were coming up were 12 and 14. And, even when I didn't birdie 12, I was like, it's okay. I'm still okay there. And then, again, 13's a hole where you make a 4 and you just move on. So I did that. And then Cam went on his run. He birdied 14 to get tied with me, I think. Or maybe one ahead at that point. So then I felt pressure to birdie 14. And where that pin was, I just left myself in a really awkward spot. And then I didn't. So it was the last 4 holes I needed to change my mindset. But, trying to chase on 15, 16, 17 at St. Andrews is really difficult. I put myself in a good position on 16 and pulled a wedge shot and didn't get it very close, so I didn't give myself a reasonable look there. But the 2 shots I hit into 17 were, I was really, when I needed to, the toughest hole on the course and hitting 2 shots into, 15 feet and at least giving myself a chance for birdie was, I thought they were 2 really important shots. I didn't convert, and then Cam birdie the last, and, obviously the tournament was basically over at that point, so... but the whole day I felt like I was pretty much in control until I didn't make birdie on 14. And then that was when my mindset had to change a little bit. But as I said, chasing on those holes isn't ideal.
All right, time for a few more. We'll do Mark and then back to Doug.
Yeah, going back to some of the live golf stuff, I'm curious, this might be a weird way of putting it, but part of your season has been more so than ever kind of being a spokesperson for the PGA in all of this. I'm curious, have you enjoyed that? It's a weird way of putting it, but have you, kind of relished that opportunity to take on that sort of role with the tour?
Not really. I don't feel like it's my job to be up here and stick up for the tour or be a spokesperson. It's just sort of the role that I found myself in, especially coming on the PGA Tour board this year. It was a great time to agree to do that. I think I've said this to a few people, I feel when I then get myself inside the ropes, it's like no one can get to me, and it's really nice. So it's actually made the golf part of it way more enjoyable. And I sort of appreciate it a little bit more because of all the other stuff that's going on. So... if anything, it's probably helped my golf, just because I can get out there and I can not think about it and compartmentalize everything and maybe enjoy competing a little bit more or at least appreciate it a little bit more with everything else that's going on.
Were you, yesterday, were you following along with the proceedings live like some other people were?
Yeah.
What did you, what did you make of some of the revelations, what you heard that came out of that hearing yesterday?
I guess at this point it's all just not hearsay, but it's, look, guys are going to make their own decisions that they feel is best for them, and that's totally fine. I don't begrudge anyone for going over to play live or taking guaranteed money. It's if that's your prerogative and what you want to do, totally fine. But I think where the resentment comes from the membership of this tour is the fact that they want to try to get their way back in here with no consequences. And anyone that's read the PGA Tour handbook or abided by the rules and regulations, that would feel very unfair to them. And that's sort of, how it played out. And I think everyone that has abided by the rules was, again, it's like there's such a long way to go. It's like you birdie the first hole, but you've still got 17 holes to go. But, it was a good day for the tour and for the majority of the membership yesterday.
All right, time for a couple more. Let's go Doug right here, then Sean.
Sorry, I just had a couple more, but as consistent as you've been on your position on this, have you ever had a number put in front of you?
Yes, but it was before it was live. It would have been PGL. Yeah.
Secondly, as a member of the board, is there any part of you that has had any emails or texts that have been available to the other side for discovery? And if not, is there anything you do now that makes you wonder? what you write in case it comes to that.
Of course. A lot more phone calls instead of texts and emails, but I don't think I know Discovery hasn't started yet. I guess Discovery will start pretty soon here, and I would imagine by being part of the board that I'll be involved in that in some way, but like I don't know at this point.
And then lastly, not to really bring this to a thunderous conclusion, how much did you pay attention to the World Golf Ranking outside of whatever text you got Monday morning to show what you were, and what do you make of the new system?
I like it because it ranks me number one on one ranking. I think that's really good. I like this new system. I think it's a more fair way to calculate who the best players in the world are. I think a lot of guys go on data golf and you see a sort of rolling average of strokes gained, and I think it's a better way to see who the best golfers in the world are right now. And again, these are all just different algorithms and calculations and whatever, but I think of awarding points to tournaments and players, it's a better way to do it. It's a way better way to do it because it just goes by strength of field and how you play in comparison to the players that you're playing against that week. So I like it. Again, it makes it a more fair ranking, and you mightn't see it straight away, but I think over the course of the next 18 months to 2 years, you'll see a fairer reflection of where everyone sits.
All right, we're just going to finish here with Sean.
Just curious, how much do you use social media or YouTube as an instructional item? And do you look at swings of yourself, swings of other players you might want to emulate, or instructors for ideas of things you might want to do?
So, again, I used to look at a lot of different golf swings. I'd look at early 2000s Tiger a lot, but I have to realize that's he's a different body shape to me. He's got longer arms. He's got just everything's different. So, but I don't like looking at my swing too much either because I'll just start to pick it apart, and I'll be too perfectionist with it, and so. I honestly, I don't even like watching my highlights anymore because I'll start picking my swing apart. Like I don't think it does me any good. So I've tried to steer away from looking at a lot of swings on video.
What's the most random swing you were into? Like random player swing you really liked?
Grant Waite. I don't know if that's random enough, but he was always the model on V1 when I was growing up, and he had a pretty nice swing.
All right, Rory, thanks for the time. Good luck this week, and we have Justin Thomas coming up right now.
Justin Thomas swings it well too.